I'm Emmy. I'm a rising junior, and I'm the founder and director of Beyond the Book. So just to give you a little brief insight into what I do, I kind of dabble in a little bit of everything at Beyond the Book, but I kind of just have my foot in all of the tasks and things that are going around, just managing and keeping everybody motivated, inspired, and ready to go. And then I also, think a lot about our mission, our product, and kind of think about how we're going to channel our energy in the future and what that is going to look like as well.
I'm Jilly. I'm also a rising junior, and I manage the site and all the design aspects of Beyond the Book. So I kind of help with social media graphics, and as you can see, I design the website, and I also kind of do a little bit of everything. I help with coordinating sessions and just keeping everything on track.
I'm Anya. I am also a rising junior, and I am operations manager, which kind of means similar to Emmy. I kind of dabble in everything, but mostly I work with the applications of the study buddies. I review those and interview prospective study buddies. I've also done a lot of work on the legal side, ensuring that our instatement as a 501c3 goes well, and just all that behind the scenes work, and making sure that each team, whether it's the international team or this team or just that any teams, kind of have a goal and a plan in mind, and just, again, as all of us do, making sure everything's run smoothly.
I'm Carolina. I'm also a rising junior, and I'm one of the coordinators. So I basically just take either bookings that are made through the website or through our partnership, and I try and match our study buddies with those students based on availability and subject preference, and who I think will match best based on personalities and things like that. And that's pretty much it. But when summer comes around and fall rolls around, we kind of redo that process just to get everyone's updated availability and new subject preferences if it changes. So it's just a lot of updating and things like that.
I'm Jordan. I'm also going to be a junior this year. And like Caroline, I'm also coordinator. But my main focus is less with the spreadsheets and working with transfers and more with incoming study buddies and matching them with students.
Wow, you guys have very detailed jobs.
Yeah, and something I want to note, and I think you might have heard this a little, is that we're a pretty close-knit team. We're all in the same grade. So we all kind of, work to keep each other accountable, and we all kind of dabble in a little bit of everything, I will say. But everyone does have their specialty, which is a nice dynamic on our team, in my opinion. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
Well, clearly it's worked really well. Beyond the Book has accomplished a lot. Thank you guys for introducing yourselves. So I'll get started with the questions. The first question is about your role models and inspiration. And I know you guys are going to be inspiring a lot of younger girls with this interview. So when you guys first started Beyond the Book, who was your biggest role model or inspiration for the company or the nonprofit?
I can start this one off, but honestly, for me, it was kind of my classmates and you guys that inspired me. It just seeing everyone kind of understand that this is important and that this is something that people need, and we can help and we can offer something to these students all around our area and across the world. It was really inspiring to see you guys and a lot of the other study buddies from our school just really get into it immediately and try as hard as they could to help everyone. And I think that was truly inspiring for me, because it was like, okay, this is serious. This is something that we need to do, and other people care about it. And I really care about it, but I was just like, this is going to work. This is something amazing, and it's going to turn into something amazing. So for me, for specifically this organization, it was just honestly my classmates and peers.
That's really
I totally want to echo that. And, as the founder, I even noticed it was such a problem on a local level. Something that inspired me to, start this initiative was literally seeing my younger brother, who's in 5th grade, just kind of struggling through schoolwork, kind of bored, kind of uninspired. And, when I sent the initial text being like, hey guys, I have this idea, I was so inspired by the synergy and how much everybody wanted to get involved. I know this group especially took such a large role, and that's why we're all here today. But I know there were so many others too who were just really wanted to take action and contribute. And that's been something super meaningful for me, just like seeing how much people care, how much the people around me really care. That's been
I can go ahead. So in the past, I've volunteered a lot, just mostly with like tutoring organizations. So I've seen where like how students can struggle with like in-person school. So I couldn't even imagine what they'd be going through like moving to an online format, because I was struggling, and I've already like, and I know that Castellea puts in so much effort to make sure that it's as good as it can be. And I can't even imagine some of the schools where they don't have the resources to do that. So that was like my big inspiration. I wanted to make sure that these students could get the support they need. And I really appreciated how Emmy's idea included it being for free, since I know that a lot of the students that I really wanted to reach out to, I knew that maybe financial like implications wouldn't work well. And that's like a big inspiration to me, just seeing how much like support like these kids might need, and we're providing that for them, which is super great for us. I think it makes me feel really good about myself, I guess.
I can go. I think definitely at the beginning, like the response from just my peers and all the people that have contributed and worked as mentors was super inspiring. But now, like to continue the inspiration, I think just the response that we've had from families and the students, like everybody seems to really enjoy it and enjoy their sessions. So just continuing that and keeping the program alive for those who really love it, it's just super inspiring to me.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that you all have said. I feel like for the same for me, there was not one specific person that really inspired me to keep pushing beyond the book to what it is today. But I will say that I do have a student myself, and every session, I feel like in the beginning when we didn't really know where the pandemic was taking us, that it was really hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And having my student was just another connection that I could have when I couldn't see my friends and I couldn't see my family outside of my like intimate family. So just having a student and knowing that there was a reciprocal impact going both ways, I was helping him learn and he was helping me find my way like through the pandemic when I didn't really know what was happening. So
I mean, beyond the book, what it's done is just incredible. You guys have helped so many people. I can't even grasp it. When you were first starting Beyond the Book, what do you think was the most important first step in starting a company or a nonprofit?
I think the most important first step is getting a solid group of people who you trust, people who are smart, and people mostly who care about the issue, and who care about making an impact and a difference, and who really want to give their time. You know, right now this is totally voluntary, so we've all given, just this leadership team right here has given hundreds of hours, not to mention we have 100 study buddies who've also put in thousands of hours, completely voluntarily. So I think, you know, when I was sitting there thinking, okay, I have this idea, I have this vision, how can I implement this? The first thing I thought of was that I can't do this alone. So I had to bring on some of my close friends and people who I know could really get the job done. And with more people comes, you know, more ideas and less work for you yourself. So it's really great in that sense. And then just like, you know, I would say that, you know, have everybody do what they're best at. So Jilly, incredible web designer, and she's totally taken initiative on that, everything like that. That's just an example. I can think of 10 more, but I just think, you know, bringing on new ideas and new people is a really great way to expand and just like gain new perspectives and new ideas for how to scale your company.
Just piggybacking off of that, from just one word that kind of comes to mind when I think about just like what was really important to us in the beginning and what really helped us was looking for people with passion. And still now we find that when we're brainstorming the mission and just thinking about, okay, what is Beyond the Book, a word that I find myself coming back to is passion. And it's really important to, and with the girls in this group right here and with all the study buddies and the people who we've worked with, that is one baseline factor that we have really, really cherished and was really, really important to us in the beginning, because without passion, there's no motivation, there's nothing to instigate movement and forward. And I think that was just something that is vital to the beginnings of an organization or whatever you're doing, is making sure that each part of the big group is passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, just to iterate what Anya said, we all took a class that was focused on social sciences, and we studied supply and demand charts, and we looked at different businesses, and we saw that certain startups failed because they didn't make enough revenue fast enough, or that their product wasn't what they thought it would be. And for us, like, we saw that companies were failing because they ran out of money during COVID, but we don't have like money with Beyond the Book. It's all voluntary. Like, we need study buddies that are very passionate, as Anya said, to be motivated to work for what we have. And so, yeah, exactly what Anya said. Passion is really, I think it's the biggest factor is that you need to start something big.
And even when we look for our potential study buddies, when we're reading their applications, our criteria, is not if you have a 4.0 or if you go to the #1 ranked high school in the country. It's not that at all. And it's very apparent to us, the people who are passionate and who are willing to give their time and who are really doing it for the right reasons. And that is to give back and impact the community in the world. So that just, we kind of take a holistic approach in that sense. And we really just look for people from the bottom up who want to just be here and help the community in any way that they can.
Those are all really great points. And I'm glad you said that the first step was building a team, because I think a lot of girls, when they want to be entrepreneurs and they don't know where to go, they feel like they have to do it all alone. But building a team is definitely a solid approach. So in that light, if you guys could give just one piece of advice for a girl who wants to start her own company, but she doesn't really know where to begin, could be the team thing or something else, what would you guys say?
I think I would say just find what you really enjoy to do and what you're best at, you think, and kind of roll with that, because you don't have to fit every single role. You don't have to be the person that manages everybody. You don't have to be, you don't have to do finance or anything. A lot of people think like, oh, to be a CEO or a founder, you need to just be good at like a lot of different things. But I think just kind of finding what you really like I really enjoy like design and building websites, and I'm not exactly great at like managing people, but kind of going off of like my strengths and learning how to do other things. Like, you can always build those skills. Just kind of start somewhere and go off of that.
I think I would say just start, like, even though it seems scary, just like putting yourself out there, because if you wait until you're perfect, that'll just be waiting literally for forever. Like, even now, Beyond the Book isn't perfect. We still have so many places where we can improve and so much where we want to expand. And just starting and putting your ideas out there and seeing how the public reacts, because then you know where you need to improve. You don't need to fix everything. You can see, oh, they didn't really like this, let me fix that and adjust it to where they want. So just starting and getting your ideas out there, I think that's the most important part. And it takes so much courage, I know, to like really put your ideas out there, but I know that there is no other way to start besides doing that, I feel like.
This kind of relates to what Carolina was saying, but I think you have to remember that starting this or doing anything is a learning experience. And so my biggest piece of advice would just be to learn from others. And I know when we first started, we looked at other tutoring tutoring companies that were started by students in our area, and we studied their websites and looked at, oh, okay, what products are they offering, how are they organizing this, how are they coordinating this, and just it was a very, very big learning experience, and it still is now. And I think you have to keep that mindset of, okay, we're just going to refresh, we have to keep learning, there's always room to grow, and that you need to, you're not going to know everything, and you have to go and look at other people, and you might be scared that, oh, you're copying them, but it's you're learning from them, and seeing something that you can make your own, and I think that's something that really, really helped us start off in the beginning.
Yeah, it's a constant iteration and reiteration. I know I've had like maybe 10 calls in the past 2 weeks just thinking about what our product is and just constantly updating, refreshing, as Anya said. And then, kind of just jumping off of Anya's point, I would say enlist the help of others, enlist mentors. This is all our first go at it. So, we all definitely want to be independent and do it ourselves and learn. But, there are experienced adults out there who can really offer you some great advice and feedback, very professional, succinct feedback, which I think is great. And then, on a completely separate note, I would say my personal biggest advice is just start with something that you see in your community, right? You're not going to have much success trying to fix a problem 3,000 miles away from you. Start with your community, see what the issues are and how you can improve them, realistically. And chances are, if there's an issue or a lack of education services, for example, in your community, then chances are it's a pervasive, widespread, all over the world issue too. And that's what we've been seeing with Beyond the Book. This was initially kind of just intended to be pretty local. Our name was, I think, South Bay Study Buddies, which is clearly a very location-based name. But then, we realized this problem is much more widespread. And so we scaled it. And that's the mindset that I would adopt when you're starting your own thing.
Yeah, I would also, just adding on to what Emmy said, I think my biggest piece of advice would be to think about timing, because Emmy saw an issue that was pretty ubiquitous within our community, that every student was struggling. So she thought of a solution that would address that issue. And it was the perfect timing to address that issue, if that makes sense. Because if Beyond the Book started last year when the pandemic wasn't really, like, we didn't even think that this would happen, I don't know that Beyond the Book would have been that successful. But I think because Emmy had this idea and she got the team together at the right time, that's why we exploded. Within like a month, we had like 50 new students, or maybe even more than that. 50 seems very low, actually, now that I say that out loud. We had many, many, many students. So I think basically what I'm trying to say here is to just think about what your community needs, exactly what Emmy said, and try to address that issue on a small scale first, because chances are that you will be successful.
I just want to hop back in too and say, you don't have to invent this like groundbreaking software that or walk on the moon, or be the first teenager to ever whatever. It can be something simple. Our solution is simple. It's like a motivated tutor, a sophisticated matching team, and a Zoom link. It just, takes some coordination and passion and experience to get that together. So, it doesn't have to be this groundbreaking idea, but if you execute it the right way, it can be groundbreaking because of the number of people that you reach and the way that you do it and the passion and the care that you bring and put into your work.
That is some of the best advice I've ever heard. You guys sound like you've been in the business world for 50 years. Switching gears a little, as you guys all know, there are highs and lows of being an entrepreneur and starting a business or a nonprofit. So what would you say is the most difficult or disappointing part, maybe that you weren't expecting when you started Beyond the Book?
I know for me, there were two big things that were frustrating and just disappointing in how hard they were. It was, first of all, we wanted to help so many students. Like there are just so many different like small niches around us of different kinds of students with different backgrounds and different resources, and we wanted to help all of them. And the reality is you can't you can't help all of them at the same time right at the beginning. And I think that was a big step for us to just mentally get over, is just we need to work small steps at a time. We need to, okay, first help this group, and as we learn more, as like I said before, as we learn, we can now move that to the next kind of student that we can help. And that was just really hard for us because there were so many people that wanted to specialize in a certain demographic, and it was just like, how do we help everyone, because we want to help everyone, but you can't. And that was a big compromise we had to make. And what kind of leads to our other biggest hurdle, I would say, was an unexpected hurdle, was the internal dynamics between everyone. And I think that's a lot of times, especially when you're a teenager or when you're a younger people starting something, you kind of forget that there are going to be struggles within the company and within the teams, and just trying to please everyone. And like, you can't help all the students, you can't please everyone on the team. When you have a team of more than 100 study buddies, you can't make everyone happy. And I think making tough decisions that some people didn't like, or just trying to keep everyone involved and at the same time stay on track with what we wanted to do, that was another frustration, and I think learning experience for us that you don't usually think about.
Huge learning experience, especially, as the director. I tend, in my personal life to want to avoid confrontation and, just smooth over any potholes. But sometimes, when this is like my baby, and I know it's their baby too, all the members of this call. And, if somebody is not responding as well to like the product or the mission or their role with the company, but, I feel that where we are is the place we should be, and that we're, we have to do it this way, even if a couple people aren't going to be totally satisfied with that decision, then I've had to learn to just roll with it. And, at the end of the day, like, the vision is mine and everyone on this calls, and you have to protect that. So even obviously always be respectful of coworkers and people who are, giving their time. But at the end of the day, like, you have to fight for what you want because it's yours. And that's definitely been a learning experience for me, but I think a very important thing to learn, especially at a young age. I feel like I have such insight into, what it's going to be like as an adult working at a company. I'm sure you guys feel the same.
Yeah, strangely, our biggest issue in the beginning, kind of with the inception of Beyond the Book, was delegating work, because originally we started with everyone doing hands-on work and we didn't really have teams formed. So at some point there's going to be, I know more brains are always helpful, but at some point it just becomes too many people working on one project that nothing gets done. So Emmy had to put her fist down and kind of organize us into teams, and they kind of formed naturally too. We sort of figured out where everyone's strengths were, so that's kind of how the leadership team really formed. It was pretty natural. But I think the hardest part was, as Anya said, appeasing everyone, because everyone wanted to help. Everyone wanted to have their say in what happens and their say in the decision making. But we figure out a process that works for everyone. So everyone is satisfied at the moment.
That sounds like it would have been tough, but it's kind of a good problem to have that so many people wanted to help. That's awesome. So I know you said you did break out into teams when you were break out into roles when you were facing a few issues at the beginning, but in general, when you face setbacks, what's kind of your go-to way to solve them?
I think, the internal issues kind of ebb and flow, and they were never really issues, just little, like, everybody wants to be involved. Everybody wants to have like their say and like have ownership. That's a big thing that I've realized, like, delegating, giving people ownership over things that they're good at. Super important. But I will say, like, always just something that's helped me is just reminding myself of why I do it and the mission, and reading over the testimonials of people who have loved our sessions. And there's always the mental days where you wake up and you're like, oh, we're not reaching as many people, our metrics aren't great. And just taking a step back and realizing that, like, I'm 16, we're all 16, and we're trying our best, and we've reached this amount of people. We've reached 400 families or something like that. So just even reminding ourselves of that is, super impressive. And it's a good reminder on those tough days where you feel like you're not making progress or there's an internal struggle or something like that.
I think for me, the way that's helped me the most is just like communication. I think it definitely, I mean, obviously it's important for everyone, but I feel like especially with like the coordinating team, since we have to communicate so much with like the students, then also with each other, and how we like delegate the amount of work we get. And there's definitely been like some issues with that, since there are like kind of like 2.5 of us, since like Jordan and I are like only on the coordinating team, and like Jilly like helps us but also does websites, so it's like a little tricky to decide what work to give to who. And we just always talk through it. We always try a new plan. If it doesn't work, we try another one. And I think just communicating with everyone and just working out your problems has helped me so much. And because everyone has different ideas, all of us bring something new to the table, and maybe like my perspective, it was like completely different than someone else's, and their idea worked better. So I think just communicating with everyone is so helpful.
Yeah, I think just remembering that you're a team is the biggest way I think we've overcome our setbacks. And when we've come to a really big hurdle, we've had this team right here has like met for 2 hours and we just talk through it. And I think that a lot of times, especially our personalities, we tend to take all the problems onto ourselves, and we get very overwhelmed and like, this is my fault, how do I fix this, the problem needs to be fixed by me, or like, and I think we all take things very personally because we all really, really care about what we're doing. And just remembering, and we have a group chat, which is like really nice, and we just text and say, we need to meet because we need to talk through this. And having those long meetings and having those long discussions and getting those extra brains and having the assets that a team holds is something that's really, really helped us through our biggest challenges, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that similar to what Emmy mentioned in the beginning, that we are on the back end of everything. Like Carolina, Jilly, Anya, Emmy, and I see everything that goes through Beyond the Book. We basically get all the feedback, all the criticism, all the compliments. We see like everything. We're kind of, we see literally everything. I can't emphasize that enough. But I feel like because of that, when we do get down, we have so much access to see all of the students that we've made happy, or all of the customers per se that we've satisfied in like a professional sense. But I feel like when we get sort of discouraged, it's really rewarding to see that we created something that's so wholesome, that's so gratifying, that it's worth it to keep pushing and to keep continuing through all of our setbacks. And I think that even though it's hard to see everything, to see all of the criticism and all of the critiques that are like placed on us, that we do take personally, as Anya said, like we do take that seriously. So it is hard to see, but it's also, the alternative is so gratifying that it makes Beyond the Book so worth it.
That is so important to remember what you guys have done, considering that we're all teenagers and you have reached so many people already. I saw on your website it was 3,000 tutoring sessions. I think that's so impressive.